beautiful writers, welcome back to Prose Publishing. I am so excited to share today's video with you guys because we are doing a formatting tutorial. Now, formatting is the process of your book endeavor and like kind of the design process, somewhere between the design and editing process, where you make sure that everything is universal. You're not going to run into any errors when it comes to uploading your book in KDP. You're making sure your alignment is justified, all of your fonts are universal, your sizes, and specifically in this case, I want to talk margins. So just a couple days ago, I had a client who messaged me. She's also a 20-time author, so she is not new to the game, and still she was running into some really key errors when it came to uploading and publishing her book on Amazon. Her magazine, by the way. So I decided to take a look at the magazine, look at the file, and specifically this is going to be for Canva users. However, the factors and like essential rules are going to be the same no matter what platform you're using. So you can be using a Word document, InDesign, Canva, whatever other design platform you like to use. But specifically today, I'm going to use Canva to show you guys the kind of like tutorial, the step-by-steps, and making sure you understand all of the rules. Now, the rules are set for specific reasons. First of all, to make your book look super professional. Second, because when it comes to errors, what if there's no faster way to learn the lessons of publishing than running into a million errors? And I have over thousands of hours in formatting, editing, and dealing with those KDP errors. So I am more than qualified to seek out all of the little things that might be hindering or blocking your book from getting published, especially when it comes from the kind of design work you've done. So we're going to take a really quick look. I can already see just from looking at the overview that although the book is beautifully laid out and I can see the universal process that she's really trying to mimic in her book, like the layout is really cool and there's a lot of really cool content in this book. This is also uploaded from a PDF. It's not what I already edited from last night. I'll actually show you guys what I made of this book. You'll be able to see almost instantly that things are lined up a little better. There's more space and everything is kind of just kind of more universal. I made sure that all of the fonts were the same size, that she only had 3 or 4 key fonts that she was using, because it is super common to see sometimes how we use too many fonts in one book and too many different sizes, especially when you're, manually expanding or retracting certain font sizes and like paragraphs and stuff. It's really easy for that like 10.5 font to turn into an 11.3, which was super common in this exact example. So you can see here that a lot of the layouts and the structure of the book has just been refined. She was actually having problems with her margins, which when I saw a couple of these pages, I immediately knew why she was running into certain issues. And that's actually the number one thing I want to highlight. Your margins are going to be probably, especially with fonts and stuff, the most important factor when it comes to publishing. Now, like I said, I uploaded the previous PDF and I couldn't restore the version prior to the changes that I made that you can see in this example here, but it was pretty similar. So just give a little bit of leeway for this isn't exactly what she handed me in, but in terms of margins and certain sizes and things like that, it is pretty fair, okay? So first and foremost here, this was the telltale sign that she may not have been aware of the marginal rule. So the marginal rule when it comes to publishing is that your written content specifically needs to be within the box that is not going to get cut off within printing. Now, one of the things I love so much about Canva is that you can fix all of that with their pre-made boxes. They have this little like orange, sorry, they have this little like pink reddish box that will show you, you know, the alignment of certain things and how close you are. One of my favorite things about Canva is that you have grid locks that basically show you how much space is in between, and you can balance things out in terms of how much space you have between certain things. Okay, so number one factor here was that her content was just not within the lines, and that was probably the core reason why she wasn't getting approved, is because Amazon and most publishing platforms already know that if your written content is outside of the printing lines or outside of the marginal printing boxes, I'm going to call them that because it's just going to get cut off in printing if your words are outside the lines. Okay, so we're going to color within the lines. I always recommend, you know, the safer you are with a tighter margin, the better. And most importantly, you want them all throughout every single one of your pages to be adjacent, universal, and just everything is clean. So you'll be able to see, you know, there's definitely some pages here that we've worked on that have been updated. Everything is within the lines, as you can see. See right there, everything is just kind of tight, and you're gonna make sure that nothing sticks out of the line. So what I love about Canva is that also those margins, those print marks, are a little bit smaller than what KDP allows leeway for. So you can definitely play around just a little bit over those lines, but I wouldn't push it too much because then you'll likely get an error email why you can't publish, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to find, especially the bigger the book, to find where exactly in your book you're kind of outside of the margins. Okay, so the next thing I really want to talk about is font sizes and fonts. Okay, so when I first, let's jump back here quickly. When I first opened this document, as beautiful and very universal as her fonts were, she also did have, if you can see here, honestly, a long line of used fonts. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, it can get really inconsistent throughout the book. And one of the things you really want to look forward to, and what makes a book feel really professional, is having universal fonts. So we played with the Poppins font. I did remove everything that was in other fonts, unless they were titles, which we did play with. I'm gonna go here. We played with Bauer Bodoni, Bodoni, and then this font here, Pirandori something, and you'll see, you know, it is pretty, like, with the exception of certain headlines and things like that, we really played around with the same fonts. And Poppins was the universal text / paragraph, or what they call normal text setting. Now, I'm actually going to jump into Word document here really quickly to show you what I'm talking about. So in this box here, you are going to see your caption, emphasis, heading 1, 2, and 3, and then your normal font, as well as, you know, subtitles and things like that. Now, I really want you to pay attention to that because you have the opportunity to set your normal font as one core font. You want to stay consistent. It's professional, first of all, and it just looks the best. And you also really want to pay attention to what your heading, your quote fonts are, your subheading fonts are. So your heading 1, 2, 3, your titles and stuff, your subtitles or your written by titles, all of that stuff, you really want it to be fluid within size and font choice. Okay, so we went usually with a 10.5 across the board, just because it's a magazine, it's a little bit bigger. I usually play with size 9. In regular traditional books, it's usually about a 10 or 11. It really depends on your font and what the universal size measures are. So if your font generally tends to play on the smaller side, like we can see here in Josephine Sands, this is actually a size 12, whereas the Poppins is a size 10.5 and it's already bigger. So you want to play around with that, and you want to make sure that every page, like I said, definitely within the margins, okay, but that they're universal, so that this turns into actually flipped it a little bit, this. And one of the things here too, are written by section or the author bio section. I was sure that every single name was a size 14, same font and bold. Then their title and their business name was in a size 12, and then their credentials and social media links were in a size 12 as well. But this is italics, okay? And here you can see that it's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit bigger, and just not consistent all throughout the board. If you can take a look at a few other pages, I'm gonna remove this really quickly. It looks good, but it's not adjacent throughout the board. You've got a 16.5, you have another 16.5 for the title, and then you have a size 12 for the Instagram links. Now, another thing I really want you to make sure is that when you have a certain author bio style, okay, first of all, my biggest thing, especially for social media is always last. It's on the last line, and it's always find her online with the actual username and the @ sign. And then if you're playing with websites, that the website is underneath. So if you can see here, she put the full link. And usually when people, especially when you're co-authoring or receiving guest submissions, or you have different writers in a single book, which we love to do. I love co-authored books. I run them several times a year. And this is why I know this. You always have the name first, the title and business name, whatever credentials they have, and then their social media handles. And I did this across the board for Nicole's book, is find her online at social media and at her website, okay? And you want to keep this across the board, because sometimes people will hand you different, let's see where I can find, see? They'll hand you different versions, but see, she did the great format. Find her online, boom, first line name, second line her title and her business name, occupation and credentials and things like that, and then where you can find her online. I always give you that format. So next thing here I want to talk about, and she actually did this really well in the original document she sent me, or the original template she sent me. However, this can be easily overlooked for many different writers. So I'm going to actually compare. So over here we have one spanning over the edges of the book. Like, you want the picture to take up the entire page, whereas in some other examples, like this one for example, the picture gets cut off within the margins. It's not spanning over the width of the page, and it's not like a full image or a full page image, okay? This is what you're going to learn as a crop marks and bleed setting. So if most of the images in your book are within the page, within the margins, and they don't span over the borders of the page, something like this, you'll select nothing. You're not going to worry about crop marks and bleeds. You're not going to play within that realm. However, like most books, if you do want your images to span over the edges of the border, and you don't want these little weird cutoff lines in printing, then 100% you're going to want to expand the page, expand the image over the borders of the page by at least a centimeter or half a centimeter. Now this, you're going to select the crop marks and bleed setting, because it's going over the edge of the page, and when you upload this PDF to KDP, to your online publishing platform, it's going to make sure that in printing it looks exactly as you had it set, okay? that's just another error that I see happen from time to time. People have no idea that the way you design your book digitally is not the way it's going to look in print if you don't have your crop marks and bleed settings. So this is something you really want to pay attention to. For anyone who wants their image to span the border of or over the border of the page, you want to expand it, and however much, it doesn't matter. Like, I usually say between 1 centimeter or 1/2 centimeter, because then once the crop marks are integrated within your book and it's already done for you, you can also do this in Adobe Acrobat. You can't really do it in Word. You can certainly do it in platforms like InDesign as well. So yeah, just really keep that in mind. See, for example, here, actually, you can't really tell. So I'm going to zoom in here. You can't really tell, but she actually cut off the images in certain instances here. Now, I didn't know if she wanted to do this or not, but I personally thought, and let's find the page here. I personally thought, see how that goes over the width of the page? It's gonna look so good in printing. And even your shapes, you wanna make sure your shapes span over that. So take a look here. I mean, it could have looked cool, but then have it adjacent. And oh my God, if I cannot stress something enough. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in here and see if we can, yeah. So you always have to take your book into consideration for the left page spread and the right page spread. We, in real life and in printed books, do not have single page spreads. You will open a book flat like this, and there's gonna be a left page and a right page. And if they are not adjacent, say for example, you're here and you got one line, oh, let's zoom out a little bit. You got one line up here and then one line down there. See what I mean? How inconsistent that is. In printing, you're gonna get that copy of your book and you're going to sorely regret having this, okay? You really want to pay attention that everything is universal, and that's why it's so important that you pay attention to factors such as margins, universal fonts and font sizes. If your font sizes are inconsistent, or let's, for example, I'm gonna see if this, yeah, 12.6. You don't want decimal points in your font size, okay? You want whole numbers and consistent numbers throughout the board. What size is your, okay, I get it that certain titles and the space within your title, where it's laid out on the book, let's say that, see 74.8, you can go to a 75 and already the decimal points are easier to stay consistent throughout the board than if you have 78.3 or 76.8. Okay, you see what I mean there? Stay super aware, okay? And again, we've got IBM Plex sans here, whereas in the new version, we've got pop-ins across the board, okay? You really want to stay consistent with all of your, ooh, that's an error there. You really want to stay consistent with all of your font sizes for the names, the headlines, the titles, the subtitles, your social media, and like little bio sections, and then the normal text, okay? There is something else I wanted to touch base on really quickly. So I'm actually gonna show you a really quick example on a page such as this one. So, oh, this is something I see all the time you would not believe, okay? Look at how many different boxes there are. Now, okay, take it very not so literally because this is obviously coming from a PDF copy of the original she sent me. But they were actually all different sizes. They were outside of the margins, and she had several different boxes within different paragraphs. So say, for example, you have like little points that you want to talk about. You don't need a new box for every point. You want to keep as few and little boxes as necessary. Now, I also want to touch base on things like this. See the size of this image? You want to really tighten it up. Not for any, like, there's what's going to be printed and how it's going to look and how easy it's going to be organized within your document. Now, in Word settings, things like having a navigation pane. So your headlines are all, all of your titles are heading 1, all of your subpoints are heading 2, so that when you look at the navigation pane in your document, it's easy to find your chapters. You're not looking for certain pages. I also, when I design my own books, every single page has its own, or every article has its own title. So it's easy to find them. Like, there's organization within the document so that you're optimizing your design experience. And then there's also how it's going to print. So things like this don't actually matter in terms of like looking at the Canva document, but isn't it so much easier to navigate when you only have the essentials here? And you can keep your headings and your normal text in a single box without having a million different ones. I just think, honestly, when I'm doing the formatting for clients, and I've seen this a million times, there's nothing new. This is a textbook textbook example that I'm playing with right now, because I see it so often that people have several different boxes and text boxes for multiple different paragraphs in the same text. Just make it easier for yourself so that you're not selecting a million boxes. Next thing I want to talk about, so this is actually an image, and I'm really going to highlight this for anyone who's got a banner or an image that they're integrating into their magazine. It's not really so much for traditional books that you see in like Word documents and stuff, but things that actually come with images. Now, usually the way this came was like this, okay? She came, and if your written content is actually in an image, so you'll be able to see this is an image. If I cut it off here, the text isn't, it's not part of the Canva file, it's part of the image. If that's the case, you want your image to fit into the boxes. You can even go a little bigger, it doesn't matter. And then you're going to match the background, which Canva is amazing for this. It's going to find the image that you have. Wow, there's a lot of images here. Anyways, it usually finds the image that you have and color matches the background so that it just looks seamless. And this doesn't get cut off in printing, neither do the words. Because if they're physical words in the PDF, the system or the software that scans for writing within the publishing platform that you're choosing, it doesn't scan images as text. So you'll have the text as text like this, but if you're using an image that has text in it, it doesn't recognize your words as text. Okay, so you really want to make sure that it's not going to get cut off, even if the image looks a little different. Usually I recommend making the image within the page. But of course, if you're, doing an endorsement or someone's handed you an image for something, you're definitely going to want to just kind of tie it all together, okay? I'm going to look over and see if there's anything else. Okay, so actually one of the things that I highly that I recognize as formatting, that I classify personally as a part of the formatting process, is your copyright section. So there are definitely templates you can use. I sometimes use, well, first of all, I've had a legal template that I just switch for all of the client copyright sections. Things like all of the permissions and where people can find you for all your rights reserved, all of your copyright information. That is definitely something you want to have at the beginning of your book. Now, everyone is different. So one thing I consider as a formatting section, I'm going to see if I can find an example. Okay, so I'm going to show you kind of what I'm referring to when it comes to the publisher's formatting. Okay, so publisher's formatting is a few select pages. I just want to highlight that every single publishing platform, that from my experience, starts with the first page on the right. So typically you start a book with like an extra blank page when you're thinking of things like left page is going to be blank. So you're just going to remove that page when you go into publishing, delete it altogether. But then your right page is going to be your frontispiece, and that's like a little logo. Sometimes you've got publisher information here at the bottom of the page. You'll see it if you look into any like traditionally published books. Then you're going to have a blank page on the left, and on the right page next, you're going to have your title page. So this is literally going to be your copy and pasted content from your cover page. You can either use the image if you can get it in traditional black and white, or you just remove that and you've got the title information as is on the cover of your book, okay? Then we're playing with the copyright section. So all rights reserved. The first one was published in date. These are registered trademarks of author name. For information about special discounts or bulk purchases, please contact sales at email. And then manufactured in the United States of America. Now, that's going to change, first of all, based on your country. And this was a journal, so it didn't have the ISBN number. Now, the ISBN number is your international business book sales number, book system number, something like that. Anyways, it's going to be a series of numbers, and you must have that if you have a traditionally published book. Now, they don't offer ISBN numbers for low content books such as journals and like little things like that, but anything that has content in it, you will most likely, for any book that you publish, get an ISBN number. So KDP gives them for free when you register your book, or you can purchase one via... So many countries have their own version of like the Chamber of Commerce, you know, different book registration forms, but every book needs an ISBN number, so get yours, okay? Then you're going to have your dedication, okay? Your dedication goes on the right-hand side of your copyright page, so your left-hand side is going to be the copyright page, and then the right-hand side is going to be your dedication, and then usually you'll have another blank page here. And if you have a traditional book or multiple different chapters in any kind of book, whether you're publishing a magazine, a book, whatever, you're going to have all of your different content and a little excerpt if you want, or you're going to have it lined up with the page numbers, things like that, okay? So that is publisher's formatting. I feel like, first of all, you can always play with your own design. When you're doing a traditional book, you want to make sure, actually that's a huge topic that I forgot to mention, you want to make sure that all of your content is aligned, justified. Justified alignment for any traditional content, unless you're publishing poetry or little quotes and certain things like that. Everything needs to be published, aligned with a justified setting. Not to the left, not centered unless it's a quote, not to the right unless, you know, you're designing a really funky book. Justified alignment. Got it? That is so important. I have no words to say this. Now, in Canva, I know it's kind of getting long. So in Canva, you're going to have to do your own page numbers. Now, I suggest you find, I did literally the corner, the right under the margin line in the corner. And you're going to have one on the left side, one on the right side, and they're both in the same alignment on both sides. And for the sake of keeping things consistent and taking the guesswork out of it, you're going to copy and paste it on every single. Left is odd numbers, right is even numbers. You can even switch it up. It doesn't matter. That's not so important. If you're the type of person in a traditional book who wants to set it up the middle, there's the middle setting. There you go. You can most certainly do that, but just keep it consistent. Keep the font consistent, keep the size consistent, copy and paste it so it goes to the same exact place down to the millimeter on every left page and every right page. Most traditional books will also have a heading of the title and author's name on it. You know, depends on whether you're called to do that or not. It's not like essential. Obviously, page numbers are more essential than headings and stuff like that, but just don't forget your page numbers, okay? yeah, just keeping things aligned, keeping things clean, keeping your document organized, keeping your images consistent. If you want them spanning over the page, you want to make sure you stretch out your image just so it goes over the page a little bit. Do not forget to export with that crop marks and bleed setting. Keep your headings, author names, subtitles, regular text, everything same font across the board for all of your headings, all of your subtitles, all of your second headings, all of your little topics. Everything needs to be consistent in font and size and alignment, okay? No decimal points unless it's 0.5, okay? Your images, you always want to make sure that your images do not cut off your text. You know, sometimes that could be a little difficult when you're playing with pictures. You really want to wrap your text alignment accordingly and place your images in such ways that it looks good and it's not overlapping your text, okay? Keep your sizes and your alignment consistent. Just, yeah. Actually, this was a key example for one reason you can, you know, have a non-justified alignment. Justified is the name of the alignment for just straight throughout the book. But, you know, if you're going to play around with having, like, lines, it's actually a lot easier to do this in InDesign. But, yeah, just keep things consistent. Remember to look at your book in terms of left and right, okay? When it comes to images, you always want to make sure that if it's spanning over the edge of the page, that you span it at least 1 centimeter or 0.5 centimeter over the borders of the page, so that once that crop mark setting kicks in, your images are flawless. You're not getting little weird crop marks or white lines in printing. Keeping things beautifully organized, keeping it adjacent, and your lines are consistent. This is one thing I love about Canva is you will see where the alignment is. Keep your lines together. Keep everything adjacent. If on one page you end with the purple color, keep it purple. If you use green, keep the lines aligned and keep the colors the same. Always keep your content and your text within the margin. Keep your fonts consistent. Literally all of the things. I'm actually going to fix this too. Just a tad. I think she may have added this. Yeah, she definitely added this, which is okay. But like, yeah, keep your fonts consistent, your titles, your names, all of it, okay? And keep your boxes clean, you know? You don't want to have too much. I'm actually going to have to go over this separately, but yeah. Altogether, it gets easier the more you do it. I know how frustrating lines can get, and margins and errors, specifically when it comes to KDP, but do not lose your cool. If you need any support, you know we're always here to help you, and just, yeah. It's a few key factors, and it's always your fonts and sizes, it's always your alignment, it's always keeping within the margin, having your publisher's formatting, so your frontispiece, your cover title, your dedication and your copyright page, your table of contents if necessary, keeping all of your page numbers super clean and in the right places throughout the board, making sure you go over your page numbers so nothing skips out. Obviously, working with platforms such as Word documents and all of that, they do that for you. But if you're doing it via Canva or even InDesign, sometimes you're gonna have to go over those page numbers manually. Okay, always playing with your bleed settings, and your forms as well as your images need to be looked over. Okay, a bunch of little things, just absolutely essential. See, I knew I'd. That's okay. But yeah, okay, just go over it, play within what you've been given, have fun with it. If you run into any issues, you're more than welcome to ask, and I'm always here. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to watch another tutorial, please subscribe to my channel. You can also find me online at prospublishing.com or at sarahL.co on Instagram. Guys, it's gonna look beautiful. So have a good one, and I hope to see you in my next video.